Former President Donald Trump is not happy with the decision of the jury in the trial of former Clinton lawyer Michael Sussmann. So now Sussmann was facing charges of lying to the FBI in the early stages of the investigation into former President Donald Trump and his supposed connections to Russia. So understand that this goes back to like Russiagate stuff, okay? So now Russiagate, first of all, irritates members of the left and irritates members of the far right. There seems to be an obsession on both sides with all things Russiagate. Now on the right, speaking of them, the Sussmann trial has actually been a major focus of John Durham's investigation. So he's been trying to find out the origin of the FBI's probe into Russian interference. And then, of course, they're going back to talking about the Steele dossier. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff in the Steele dossier that wasn't true. It was speculation, salacious speculation. But then there were other stuff that actually did prove to have a basis in reality. And so it's kind of a mixed bag, right? And that's essentially Oppo research. Now, Sussmann, no, let me start that again here. Go back. The Trump camp, MAGA people, right-wingers, were thrilled when Sussmann was indicted for allegedly lying to the FBI. So now Sussmann went to the FBI, and he's like, hey, I think that there's some suspicious activity, right? So now he goes to the FBI General Counsel James Baker, but didn't apparently, allegedly, come clean about his work with Clinton's campaign while he was giving the Bureau information suggesting Trump's ties to Russia. Now, the charge has been a center of claims from conservatives that Clinton's team tried to have Trump spied on. After a 2-week trial and days of deliberations, a federal jury delivered not guilty verdict on the charge Sussmann lied when he went to the FBI of accusations that the Trump organization was secretly communicating with a bank called Alpha Bank. So now mainstream media, of course, they talked about this. They made a huge spectacle. They talked about it for months and months. Because, and these are the details, for 4 months prior to the 2016 presidential election, there were 2 servers registered to Alpha Bank that were pinging the address of another server maintained by a mass marketing firm for the Trump organization. So they're pinging the servers, right? And now people looked at that and it's, oh, that's weird. That's some interesting traffic. Okay. These are multiple pings on the DNS. We're very, very curious. What's going on here? Are they communicating with each other? So now there was an investigation into it, and it turns out there actually wasn't any secret communications. There weren't any plans to, use that as a back channel from Russia, Putin using Alpha Bank to secretly communicate with Trump Tower. Again, there's no evidence of that, right? What they did find is that it was basically either just white noise, internet white noise, or marketing, like loading it with advertisements. And so, but anyway, nothing that was found proved to be nefarious. And so that investigation, it fell through. So now going to Sussmann, who again brought this to the attention of the FBI while he was working along with the Clinton campaign. He was accused of lying about that and trying to basically get an investigation on Trump. Now, the jury was unable to determine beyond a reasonable doubt that Sussmann was deliberately telling a lie when he had presented his claims. So, in response to that, of course, Trump world not happy about that. In fact, here's what he did. He exploded. He said, our legal system is corrupt. Our judges and justices are highly partisan, compromised, or just plain scared. Our borders are open. Our elections are rigged. Inflation is rampant. Gas prices and food costs are through the roof. Our military leadership is woke. Our country is going to hell. And Michael Sussmann is not guilty. Okay, so I love how whenever Trump doesn't get his own way, it's immediately corruption. Like, really? Really? Now, look, that said, is the Supreme Court corrupt? I think it is. I think a lot of our institutions do happen to be corrupted by corporations, and generally tend to favor conservatives. That said, do we have inflation? Yes. Thanks in large part to corporate greed. And of course, COVID. That of course led to overpriced food and energy, and we're all suffering today, right? These things are true, objective facts, right? Now, what is not true is having open borders. What? No, no, we didn't have. First of all, never had open borders. Not under Trump, obviously, not under Obama, not under Biden. No, there's been no real huge shift in border policy that is significant. We also don't have a rigged election. Not true. Again, numerous investigations into this. No evidence of mass voter fraud. There is voter fraud, sure, it does happen. Statistically incredibly small. And a lot of the cases that, we've seen were people trying to vote twice for Trump, or write in their dead relatives for Trump, things like that. And as far as woke leadership, look, I think those of us on the left, we are very critical of, what's that word? So it's related to, it's where, the military will put out like, oh, we are so wonderful and accepting of new people. Please come join the military. So then, we can have this incredibly diverse group of people go and bomb brown people. Not really interested in those kinds of ads. Not really interested. But the reason that they're doing it is not because of some weird, nefarious, woke agenda. No, it's because they need more manpower. They need more bodies. Doesn't make any sense, right? Like the whole, it's the wokies, and it's the agenda to make the military and the leadership woke, to make them weak. No, that's really, really dumb. No, it's not virtue signaling. Yeah, I forget, but it's kind of on the lines of as well, like rainbow capitalism, for example, where these companies will adopt this inclusive language. We support diversity, we support all of that, while still giving to like Republican donors that are trying to shut down like gay marriage and go after trans people. I mean, again, it's sort of the same phenomenon that goes on in that situation. You don't actually mean anything. You're just doing it to help yourself. So in a way, it's not really woke, is it? Yeah, pandering. Pandering is a good word to that. A good explanation, but yes. So there's that, right? But what Don Jr. is doing is basically throwing all of these buzzwords at the wall. Because once again, we see that Trump is not a victim of some nefarious plot. Now, if you could point out, like, hey, the media is mean to me. Yes, that's true. The media is very mean to Donald Trump. That's fair. Yes, they do, corporate media didn't like Trump. They also didn't like Bernie Sanders. They also don't like progressives as well. And so, do you ever hear a right-winger make that comparison? Be like, I can't believe that the corporate media treats us as bad or almost as bad as they do the far left. No, they never say that. They never point that out. Even though it's absolutely true. Again, you look at coverage about, for example, Bernie Sanders in the mainstream press, in the Washington Post and the New York Times, and how they treat all these progressives. No, they despise progressives. And so you want to make the case that, like, hey, the media is mean to outsiders. That's a good point. That is a really good point. If the right wing were to admit that and be like, yeah, their mainstream media is a problem, corporate media is a problem because they hate both of us, because we're outsiders. Fair enough. Fair enough. And we would agree with that. But they don't ever talk about that. They don't. They always say, "Oh no, it's the far left that controls the media," and that's why they're mean to the right wing. No, no, that's not the reality. That's not the reality.